I got to redefine what ambition and drive looked like for me. No longer was it ambition and drive with the focus of for other people, but ambition and drive for myself. Hello and welcome back to another week of Calling in Sick. I'm your host, Alex Wildeson. It has been a week. Last week we had Kwame on the show, which was a treat in and of itself. He is a phenomenal human being, just like a beacon of hope and joy and positivity and also like authenticity, which I really appreciate. And from that episode to today, I have been procrastinating so hard on recording my solo episode. I don't know what it is, but over the last 6 years, I have become a little bit of a procrastinator. Now, I think if you would compare my version of procrastination to someone else's, to Cooper's, it's different. But from Kwame's episode to today, the night before IVIG, I somehow did not find the time to record this solo episode. So I am swinging it right under the gun right before IVIG like I do every single time I have IVIG, just to add that little layer of stress into my life. Sometimes we perform under pressure better. Anyway, I've been procrastinating. And that is what this whole episode is going to be about. Procrastination and ambition and how that changes when you start to get sick. But not necessarily a bad thing. So I'm going to share with you guys a little bit about old Alex, pre-vasculitis Alex, still autoimmune Alex, and Alex now, who you guys know. And I think we'll digest and therapize from point A to point B together to hopefully draw some conclusions on why I am now okay with procrastinating a little bit. And one of the main things I'm super excited about for this episode is as I was digesting everything, I think I have found a way to redefine ambition and kind of that drive to redefine ambition and drive so that I don't feel like I've lost that part of me. It's just transformed a little bit. But more on that later. First, housekeeping like we do. If you can please follow, like, and subscribe, that would mean the world to me. And this week, if you don't mind, I would love for you to drop in the comment section. I want to know how you guys have experienced ambition and drive and if that's changed from before you got sick to after you got sick, and where do you sit with that now? I think we can all help each other out. Free therapy in the comment section this week. We'll get from point A to point B, one way or another. Speaking of getting from point A to point B, let's talk about my Alex's picks of the week, which will most certainly help you get from point A to point B. First one is Hilma's supplements. I'm doing a partnership with them right now, so if you guys have not yet and are in the market for supplements, go to their website, use my code Alexandra20, you get 20% off on anything. The one supplement that I love the most from them is their dairy and gluten enzyme supplement. I'm going into IVIG week. I treat myself, meaning I eat approximately 5 to 8 bags of goldfish every single day that I get IVIG, which is 4 days in a row now, not 5. Woo! Small wins. But goldfish obviously have both gluten and dairy, so to avoid the atrocious stomach issues I will have from that, I just take my Hilma supplement 20 minutes before I start snacking. Way better. Way, way, way better. So if you have any issues with gluten or dairy, or you need some fiber supplements or some bloating supplements or anything like that, Hilma is the one that I go to for all things gastro. Check out the description for the link, and again, that discount code is Alexandra20. Second pick of the week is a snack. They're called DoBites. I don't know if you've heard of them. They are excellent. They are free of the top, I think 9, maybe 11 allergens, including like in the kitchen, no cross-contamination, nada. I don't usually have a sweet tooth. I'm usually a salty girl. But since I've been on prednisone, which is almost a year now, I have developed a sweet tooth. It is sometimes hard to find little sweet tooth things that check every single dietary restriction box. So historically, I've usually turned to eat something that will make me feel shitty afterwards. You guys probably saw my cupcake post on Instagram and TikTok the other week. What you did not see was that I had a massive rash all over my face, ulcers in my mouth, horrible nausea, stomach pain for like 3 days following eating those cupcakes, which had both gluten and dairy. Sad. So I'm trying to be a good girl now. And what that means for me is trying to find a sweet treat that does not have gluten and dairy, does not have peanuts or tree nuts because I'm anaphylactically allergic to those things. That kind of limits the options. But then I found DoBites at Whole Foods, Central Market if you're in Texas too. Phenomenal. They're tiny, so you can eat 1 or 5 and not feel guilty about it. Chocolate chip cookie dough on the inside, wrapped in a chocolate casing. That one is my favorite. I know they have a lot of other options. I don't have a discount code for you guys. I will try to work on one because they are so good. And everyone deserves to have a DoBite. And that transformation from eating the cupcake that has gluten and dairy to finding an alternative dessert that has no gluten or dairy or my allergies, that is called growth. And that is what we are going to be focusing on in this week's episode, especially in regards to ambition and drive. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier in the episode, I have been procrastinating, and that is not a personality trait that I'm used to. You guys know this version of Alex, who is a bit more laid back and is actively trying to break up with her self-worth being so deeply tied to how productive she is. But what you don't know is the really intense version of Alex that used to exist before I got sick. I was someone that lived by my to-do list. And honestly, I shouldn't even use the word to-do list because if there was something that needed to get done, it was immediately getting done with a very intense sense of urgency that was probably palpable to other people and probably unpleasant looking back. I was very action and execution oriented. I valued myself on my productivity. I valued other people on their productivity. Now, being action-oriented and an execution queen is not a bad thing, but at the degree that I was that, it wasn't excellent. It was very helpful for being an investment banker and being a finance girly, though. But when I got sick, it got harder to kind of keep up with that version and that identity of myself, and I realized I had this fear of who was I going to be if I wasn't this super reliable, action-oriented girl that was ambitious and had huge drive. Getting sick, I think, strips that away for a lot of us. And it's easy to get lost in the grief of, why can't I go back to that version of me? Why can't I do this anymore? Who am I without that? And there's a lot wrapped up in that, I think, is this underlying fear of who am I if I'm not letting the world outside define who I am. If I actually were to sit down and block out Western culture that is, you get a job, you work hard, you get promoted, you blah, 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 and instead sat and thought about what is important to me. Those are really tough conversations to have with yourself when you're in your early 20s. Which is when a lot of us started getting symptomatic or got sick. I guess what I'm trying to say is if you have felt like your ambition or drive has suffered or changed or completely disappeared since you've gotten sick, you're definitely not alone in that feeling. But I have some ideas for us because I don't think it's actually a loss. So you guys have heard me say this time and time again, but there is not a box that chronic illness people fit nicely into. And so these kind of roles we take on, if you will, be it in corporate America, in family settings, in friendship settings, in relationships, it doesn't really matter. We're always striving to be this version that works for everyone else. Essentially, we cosplay as a healthy person so that we can actually have a life and a living in this world. And y'all know that last year was a big shakeup year for me. But before that, I chased that corporate America white picket fence dream so hard. And as my symptoms got rougher and rougher and the treatments ramped up, it was like having a mirror getting held up to me every single day saying, you're not that ambitious girl anymore. You don't have that same drive anymore. You can't be that same person. And it was just a compounding frustration of not feeling enough all the time, which is hilarious because I think from the outside looking in, it looked like I was this girl that was able to balance it all and do it all. I had a job. I had a healthy marriage. I was getting treatments, but a good attitude. But that was just what everyone saw. And what nobody saw, besides the people very close to me, is that I was struggling so deeply, not just physically, but emotionally and identity-wise of who am I if I'm not this version of Alex I've always been. And that was kind of heartbreaking, candidly. I think there's a lot of grief and a lot of fear that come with the undoing or unbecoming that is chronic illness, that is the chronic illness transformation. We simply just cannot be who we were before we got sick. And I know that that's hard to hear. Like, that's a tough pill to swallow. It is also the most liberating thing in the world. You can break up with any parts of you that don't serve you. The parts of you that maybe you built up and are a mask and aren't even the real you. So when I look at my life and I think of this Alex who I was before and who I am now, one of the things I'm so happy with that I've broken up with is this North Star of urgency. Having to get the to-do list done immediately, responding to emails within 15 minutes, zero inbox policy at the end of every day, no text message left unresponded to. Fuck that. That is so much pressure, so much noise. I'm balancing a lot. Urgency, I have unsubscribed to. I am okay and have given myself grace with the whole concept of I will get to it when I get to it, and when I get to it, that is the right time. And of course, there are certain things that whole ideology cannot apply to, like work commitments perhaps, or if someone is reaching out in an SOS situation, take that all with a grain of salt. Still, some things require urgency. But there's so many things in our day-to-day lives that don't require that urgency that I think our modern world kind of pushes us to think should have urgency. So that for me has been one of the biggest and most freeing aspects of changing how I define ambition and drive post-diagnosis and in the midst of all of the symptoms. And to double down on that, the catalyst for the unbecoming of this part of my life, strangely enough, was when I lost my job. Like I said earlier, I was trying to fit into that box, be this perfect employee. My job had requirements for travel, for being in the office, for networking in person, the amount of hours I would work in a week, my brain capacity to actually execute on things, how many projects I could juggle at the same time. It was so much. It's a lot for any person, healthy or not. It's a lot for even a healthy person. So you layer in 5 chronic illnesses, all of the symptoms and treatments. It's like, why the hell was I trying to fit into that? That wasn't going to serve me. I wasn't getting crazy accommodations. That wasn't for me. So when I lost my job and ultimately then launched my own company and teamed up with my sister to launch a consulting firm, I got to redefine what ambition and drive looked like for me. No longer was it ambition and drive with the focus of for other people, but ambition and drive for myself. And that kind of pivot of, hey, I'm going to do this for me, not because someone else told me to, changed everything. I think that also helps me understand when to prioritize things, when to have urgency. So now working for myself and with my sister, I have redefined what being a good worker is or good employee. It 100% means unsubscribing from urgency in every aspect. I have to lead by example. I want everybody that works with me, client or coworker, to always feel like there is space. There is space for failure, there's space for growth, there's space for learnings, and space for wins, of course, too. But that there's space to just be human, and that you don't have to give it your all, 100%, every single spoon to your job or whatever project we're working on together. Instead, I want you to show up and give what you can and what you want to, and that's enough. That's the second kind of aha with this transition for me, is that there is enough, that there is not that big of a difference between good enough and perfect. It's probably 10%. And good enough for me probably comes across as perfect to somebody else. So if I am trying to look at my whole life and world and restructure what I value and how I value myself, that was another really important North Star switch, was to see this good enough as still an A+. The third thing that this has allowed me to do is to not put the pressure on executing on every single thing every single day. I now prioritize the highest impact, biggest bang for your buck things that I need to do on a to-do list and try to focus on those things. And I also know that those things don't have to get done immediately. It can be a drip. You can do a little bit every day. Small wins build with momentum. No, what's the saying? Small wins build momentum. Okay, so I know that all of that is truly about just work, ambition and drive in regards to work. And life is way, way more than that. The Europeans have it right. We work to have a living, not live to have work. However, I am an entrepreneur, so my work and my life bleed together in almost every single way, and I'm not quite sure how to separate that out, or even if I should. And thankfully, I have an amazing partner, St. Cooper, who supports that and knows that this is how we're managing it right now, and that's good enough, and that's great. But I think what I have been able to extrapolate out of the work, ambition, drive, transformation mindset that I've had and put into other parts of my life is that living with intention is better than living quickly, trying to get to the milestones, trying to just, make different things happen. It's so strange to stop and be slow and be soft in a world that does not give value to those kind of characteristics. But boy, does it feed your soul and does it give back to who you are and your identity to be able to take that step back, to know that you're not behind because you're not trying to keep up with the Joneses and be on this fast-tracked urgency path to living. Instead, you're allowing yourself to just become and to evolve. And that, to me, is way more beautiful than having a zero inbox at the end of the day. And I think some of those lessons or learnings can also be pulled into chronic illness disease management. It's so easy to slip into the pattern of, I need answers right now because I'm scared. I also want to feel better. It's so easy to slip into, I don't have a diagnosis name. How can I explain it to others? And then that becoming the North Star hyperfixation instead of feeling better. Or even, if I'm not always trying to level up and take care of myself better, will I ever get better? All of those things are essentially to please and accommodate others instead of ourselves, which is a catch-22 because, of course, some of those things will actually help us feel better and hopefully get to a better place. But it puts so much pressure on us. And yes, we should have drive and ambition to feel better, but when you put pressure on yourself to feel better, it's almost impossible to feel better. It's like someone coming up to us and saying, hey, to be in pain, you should just stop being in pain. Stop thinking about being in pain. That's ridiculous. I think all of us can agree that when you're in pain and at this crisis point, the best thing to do is to stop and be slow and be soft. So thinking about chronic illness management, instead of always chasing the next appointment, the next diagnosis to capture XYZ symptom, to try out the next wellness tech thing, just give yourself a break and pause. We live in a world that prioritizes burnout culture. And because we are these people that don't fit into a box that the world has for everyone else, we might as well make our own box that has nothing to do with burnout culture and has everything to do with having softness and slowness and the duality of still having ambition and drive and wanting to get better, be that in health or relationships or business. Because softness in my world and in my book is not a failure. It very much is wisdom and it is growth. So I don't know if I necessarily have a bow to wrap everything up with this week. I am in this time where I am trying to strip away that identity from myself. Hold on to the parts that I like, throw away the parts that I don't like, know that I'm still ambitious and that I still have so much drive, but it looks different because I'm chronically sick. And that's okay. It should look different. I'm chronically sick. I know that ambition and drive for me can't be I know that I have to redefine ambition and drive in order to keep going, to not burn out. I can't be the ambitious and driven Alex who I was before I got PIN. But I also don't really love that version of her. I really like this version of me. So this new version of ambition and drive, of loving myself to know that my self-worth is more than what others think about me. And because my brain is brained out right now, my one brain cell segment, let's go. I am obsessed, hyperfixated, some may even say, on this TV show. I watched all 3 seasons in 5 days. Love on the Spectrum on Netflix. Oh, like a hug for your nervous system. It is such a good, happy, refreshing, just pure kind of show. Each season follows 5 or 6 different people that are neurodivergent. And it's them entering the dating world and exploring this whole new chapter in their life. And they're doing it scared. I think in season 1, you see a lot of these individuals terrified to get out of their routine, to try something new, to put themselves into this really vulnerable space to open up their heart and have all parts of themselves seen by somebody else without the fear of being judged. It is so beautiful. Watching it, I was like, oh my God, like sobbing, crying for so many different reasons. And I think it's really refreshing to see people on the TV screen that are showing up 100% authentically, truly as they are, asking for what they want, having their non-negotiables sternly and staunchly because they know that that's what brings them joy and happiness, and not masking for other people. Of course, it's a feel-good show, but it also is a show that inspires you to just live who you are, and I think that's incredibly beautiful. So if you're looking for something cozy and like a warm hug, and also you're down to cry a little bit from joy and grief and every single human emotion, 10 out of 10. I recommend this show. It is so amazing. I now follow all of them on TikTok and Instagram, eating up their content. I want more. And I am excited to hear what you guys think about the show too. And on that note, it is time for me to go and make my list of what I'm going to watch tomorrow during my 5-hour IVIG infusion. And I guess not just tomorrow. I'm going to try to figure out what I'm going to watch the rest of this entire week. I've got 4 days ahead of me. Wish me luck, low side effects, and hopefully some sleeping. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here with me every week, helping me unfold different parts of my brain and my identity and my life, and help me change how I see the world too. I love you all. So thank you for being a part of this Calling in Sick family. Thanks for spending your Monday with me, or whatever day of the week you're listening to this on. And I will see you guys next week. Thank you for calling in sick. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for joining me for another week of Calling in Sick. As a reminder, I would love for y'all to like, follow, subscribe, save, share with a friend, do all of the things. It truly helps grow this community, and it helps these episodes reach the people that need them the most, whether that's for an educational piece, to have a little laugh, or to not feel so alone. As a reminder, Calling in Sick sits on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify, and anywhere else where you can find your listens. From the bottom of my heart, I absolutely love you guys. Thank you so much for calling in sick with me every Monday. It's been an honor and a pleasure so far, and I can't wait to continue. I can't wait to continue building this community with y'all. Love you.